and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Oakland, California, and OAK Coliseum. The Blue Jays and A's will play a 3-game series here tonight, starting Tuesday night. Last time the Blue Jays were here, they were swept at the hands of the Oakland A's in a 4-game series, and Oakland simply shut down the Blue Jays' potent bats in that series. They scored a total of 4 runs against Oakland in the 4-game series. John Gibbons Ball Club, he knows this is an important road trip, and every game from this point to the end of the season is going to be important for the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's take a look at the lineup. Jose Reyes right at the top of the order, and then Josh Donaldson. Those are his numbers here at OAK Coliseum. He's played 192 games, 27 home runs, and 105 RBIs in this ballpark. He is back here for the first time since the trade. Devin Travis, the second baseman, batting in the 9th spot, has had a good run of late. Over his last 8 games, he's 11 for 28. With 3 doubles and 2 RBIs, he's done a nice job of getting on base and turning this potent lineup over.
Well, talking about the trade and the Josh Donaldson trade, this is one of the players that went to the Oakland A's. Former Blue Jay Kendall Graveman gets ready for his 15th start. He was recalled from AAA Nashville May 23rd for his second stint with the ball club this season. 5-3 with an excellent .217 earned run average since then. That's the 8th lowest in the American League over that span. Overall 6-5 with a .338 earned run average. He's lost his last start versus Cleveland. That's not the first 3-game winning streak of his young career.
Kendall Graveman, former draft pick of the Toronto Blue Jays. He was drafted in the 8th round. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. Reyes shows bunt and takes one outside, and we are underway.
First pitch.
Jose Reyes batting .284 on the season. He's got 4 homers and driven in 32. Ground ball to Hopper. Big bounce for Ben Zobrist. Reyes is retired.
Batting in the second position, third baseman, number 20, Josh Donaldson.
Nice reception for Donaldson. I don't care who you are when you play your first game back at your former ballpark. It's a special feeling.
Yeah, where you were a star and where you had a lot of success, where your team had a lot of success. And Josh was saying today before the ball game, he wasn't real sure what kind of reception he would get coming in here as a visiting player. I'll tell you what, they love him here in Oakland.
Played 4 years here with the Athletics, hit .268 and pounded out 63 home runs playing for Oakland. Hits that one on the end of the bat. Simeon, the shortstop. There's the first 2 quick outs for Graveman. Well, when Graveman's on, he's going to get a lot of ground ball outs. He gets 2 quick ones early in this ballgame. Let's take a look at the defense. Jake Smolinski in left field. Billy Burns can really run in center, and Josh Reddick, the former Gold Glover, is in right. Former Blue Jay Brett Lawrie's at third base. Marcus Simeon and Ben Zobrist up the middle. Stephen Vogt makes his 16th start at first base, and Josh Brinkley is behind the plate for Kendall Graveman.
You know, you were talking about Graveman in the ground balls. Ben Zobrist is going to play second base tonight. He was telling me against left-handed pitchers he's playing second base. Against right-handed pitchers he's playing left field. At second base he hasn't made an error. 28 consecutive errorless games at second base. His last error as a second baseman, June 19th of last season.
A terrific player in his first season away from Tampa Bay. Bautista takes one down in the dirt. 2 balls and a strike to the Blue Jays right fielder. Bautista with 19 home runs. He had a big home run Sunday. That 2-run home run late in the game to give the Blue Jays a cushion. What is it about Graveman that makes him so effective? He doesn't throw hard.
Doesn't throw hard, but his ball's moving all over the place, and that's where he really took off as a minor leaguer with the Blue Jays. He's always been able to sink the ball. Last year he found that cutter. When he started cutting that ball, he started getting something away from the right-handers and in on the left-handers.
Another ground ball, big hop for Simeon. He bobbles it, throws to first, and Bautista is tagged. Marcus Simeon has committed 28 errors this season, and he was able to recover, and he got some help at first base by Stephen Vogt. Kendall Graveman, a 3 ground ball inning for Graveman. Vogt comes off the bag and slaps the shoulder of Bautista to end the top of the first. California, Berkeley, and the manager's done a great job here in Oakland. He has just tied Ken Maka in wins for the 3rd spot on a franchise wins list for skippers. Take a look at the starting lineup for Oakland. Billy Burns, Stephen Vogt, and Ben Zobrist. He's in that 3rd spot. Zobrist, the switch hitter. Blue Jays know all about Zobrist. He played for the Tampa Bay Rays, and they have seen him a lot. Billy Butler in his first season with Oakland. He's hit Burley well, .328 for his career with 3 homers and 17 driven in. Billy Burns, a switch hitter, batting right against Burley, and he's a free swinger, and he can run. He turns around first, and Carrera gets the ball in quickly. Billy Burns with a leadoff base hit. Burley will pitch out of this stretch right off the bat.
Mark Burley gets ready. 19th start of the season. He's 10-5 with a .334 earned run average. Last time out, I thought he was outstanding against Kansas City. 7 innings versus the Royals. He won that 10th game. Picked up scratch runs in the 1st inning and the 7th inning off of Burley as he won his 10th game. He has pitched deep into the game 10 out of the last 11 times he has taken the mound, and he's going to have to do that again here tonight against Oakland.
This is Stephen Vogt. Vogt has done a terrific job this season, doing most of the catching. Tonight he's at first base. Look at those numbers, 285, 14, and 57.
He's got a great eye at the plate. He'll work over that pitcher. They can hit and run with him if they have to.
Ground ball bobbled by Travis, and Burns goes to second. Devin looked like he was thinking about going to second base. Take a look at the defense for the Blue Jays. They've committed 55 errors as a team, and this has been a real problem area for the team lately, their defense. With Burley on the mound, Carrera starts in left, Galarge in center, Bautista is in right. The left side of the infield is always important with Burley on the mound. It's Donaldson, Reyes on the left side, Travis and Smoke on the right side, and Russell Martin back behind the plate for the veteran Burley.
Yeah, the inner defense, I think, is going to be very important against Mark Burley tonight. Last time out, that start against Kansas City, he had 14 ground ball outs. A lot of ground balls where the infielders are going to have to pick the ball up and make plays.
This is Ben Zobrist. We mentioned Zobrist in his record against Burley. He's got a .367 career average against Mark Burley. Zobrist has had problems. He's had a bad knee, and he's missed some time. He bunts it, and it trickles foul out in front of home plate. Well, Oakland, they don't have that prolific offense, so Zobrist trying to push down a bunt, maybe set things up for Billy Butler, the cleanup hitter.
You're right. Not a lot of home run hitters. This ballpark can take away a lot of home runs, but they don't have those type of big bashers that we saw the last couple of years here with the Oakland A's, the Yoenis Cespedes, Brandon Moss, some of those other teams. So they're going to have to score runs in different ways.
No Josh Donaldson?
Yeah, that guy too.
So Zobrist takes that inside fastball for strike 3. He strikes out. 2 down now. As Zobrist will pack the lumber back to the dugout. Billy Butler will bat with a runner in scoring position.
And he couldn't believe that this was a strike, but that's what Mark Buehrle's been doing ever since he became a Blue Jay. That fastball, he'll cut it right on the inside part of the plate, and he has locked up a lot of right-handed hitters the last couple of seasons.
Billy Butler, his first year away from Kansas City, has faced Mark Buehrle a lot because they both played in the AL Central. Buehrle spent his time with the White Sox, of course. Billy Butler questioning the umpire, Bob Davison, about that inside strike. That's the same pitch that Zobrist struck out on. You know, in that conversation, there's got to be the mention, hey, he doesn't need any help.
Well, you can see from pitch tracker that cutter might have been off the plate. Just establishing the strike zone right now with the home plate umpire, Bob Davidson. Can you go any further, or is that it?
Mark Buehrle breaks more bats and jams more good right-handed hitters with an 84-mile-an-hour fastball than anybody in baseball. The A's haven't been good against lefty starters. They have a 6-17 record when the left-hander starts against them. Bob Davison likes that inside pitch. Billy Butler didn't like it. A couple of strikeouts, and Butler's got a word for Davison as he heads back to the A's dugout. Mark Buehrle is through 1.
Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Kendall Graveman set to deliver to Edwin Encarnacion. Throws a first pitch strike. Edwin for the season, a .232 average. There's that cutter that you talked about, Pat.
It's got some late break to it. It stays on line. You know, that pitch right there really sent Graveman swirling last season.
This one's going to send him swirling. How about that? Edwin Encarnacion goes deep here in the second. His 19th home run of the season.
Boy, and that was a no doubt about it. This is a big ballpark where not a lot of home runs have been given up against a staff, the Oakland A's, that don't give up a lot of home runs. A cutter that stayed on the inside part of the plate, a big Edwin, got everything of that. The A's allowed just 74 home runs, the fewest in the American League. And Edwin said, I'll take care of that easily.
In the 4 games last July, when the Blue Jays were swept, they had 1 home run in the 4 games. And that was a pinch hit home run by Steve Tallison in the 9th inning in a 4-2 loss. And Encarnacion makes sure that doesn't happen again.
You can see how that ball just stayed right on the inner half, and he got all of it.
Just didn't smoke. Boy, that's a pretty swing right there. Encarnacion, number 19, his 55th RBI. It's 1-0 Blue Jays. There's a hot shot. Zobra's out in the outfield. Long throw, and Smoke is retired. So the Blue Jays square up a couple of pitches here in the second after 3 ground ball outs in the first.
You know, even though Kendall Graveman has good movement, he can sink the ball, he can four-seam it, he can cut a little bit, he still has to make pitches, and he's got to keep it out of the middle of the plate and keep it down. You can see what happens when a big league hitter like Edwin Encarnacion squares up a mistake.
This is Russell Martin, the catcher. Graveman throws a lot of strikes, and we saw that. He made 5 appearances for the Blue Jays last year when he was called up in September.
And that was the problem that he had in his first stint with this team. When he first came up, made the team out of spring training this season, he was walking all kind of batters. Almost 5 per 9 inning, went down to the minor leagues, found it, came back up. He's only walked 18 in 66 innings, like 2.5 per 9 innings.
He had a pretty good mentor while he was down in Nashville. Former A's great Barry Zito is in AAA, and they spent some time talking about the art of pitching.
Never left his side, did he?
There's a cutter off the plate. The appeal, no swing down at first base. That's Hunter Wendelstedt. Yeah, Zito and Graveman, when they weren't pitching, would sit behind the backstop and chart pitches of their pitcher during the game, and they had a lot of time to talk about pitching. It's a high fly ball. Burns backing up a few steps. Well in front of the warning track. Martin's retired. 2 down. That's the first fly ball out for Graveman. He has 4 ground outs.
Batting in the 7th position, left fielder
Kendall Graveman was one of the 4 players traded to Oakland for Josh Donaldson, and he was a hard guy to give up. John Gibbons has talked about that because Graveman came up and showed some real promise in those 5 appearances last September.
5 appearances, all relief appearances for the Blue Jays, and he came in, and you and I were commenting at the time how he looks like a big leaguer. He looks like he belongs at the major league level. He wasn't intimidated at all. Had a good ERA at 3.8 in those 5 appearances.
Graveman jumps ahead of Ezequiel Carrera, the left fielder tonight. Outside.
You know, there's just some guys who can come to the big leagues for the first time and look comfortable and act like they belong, and his stuff is now starting to play as a big leaguer. He's been great since he's come back up at the end of May.
This is his 11th start since he was recalled from AAA Nashville. He was 5-3 coming into this game, and he's pitching just his 7th game against the AL East. He works quickly, and that really keeps the infielders engaged, much like Mark Burley, of course. Another sinker hit off the end of the bat.
You know, he's pitching in a great ballpark also. A sinker type of player, ground ball type of pitcher in this ballpark where there's a lot of room and the ball doesn't carry. I mean, it's a perfect place for him. You can see why he has pitched so well here in the 10 starts since he has come back.
That's chopped off home plate. Graveman will go to the bag himself, and Cabrera is retired. But the Blue Jays in the top of the second take a 1-0 lead thanks to Edwin Encarnacion. He takes Graveman deep to left field. His 19th home run of the season for Encarnacion, RBI number 55. Of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership. Well, Mark Burley is going to exploit the inside corner right now. Bob Davidson has given him the inside corner, and you can bet they're going to work on that a bit. This is Jake Smolinski. He hits it off the end of the net. Donaldson throws him out. Another ground ball out for Mark Burley.
You know, and if a veteran pitcher finds that little hole right now where he can get that cutter in there, you're right. He's going to exploit it. His last 3 starts, he hit .238 against that fastball. I think he's going to keep pumping it in there.
Well, Mark Burley will pitch against his former teammate, Brett Lawrie. Lawrie batting against the Blue Jays for the first time since the trade. There's a curveball for a strike. Brett Lawrie, now 25 years old. Of course, we all know he's from Langley, BC. First round pick of the Brewers in 2008. Hits him into right field. Bautista coming hard. It's going to drop for a base hit. Lawrie with a 1-out base hit. Second hit for the A's.
Got off to a little bit of a rocky start as a member of Oakland, but he has been picking it up lately. Batting average up to .280 at the start of play tonight. Those are the kind of balls where the hitter says, hey, I hit it as hard as you threw it right there, right off the end of the bat, and he dumps it out into right field for a hit.
They all count, that's for sure. So this is the catcher, Josh Flegley. He goes after the first pitch. Burley will make you swing. He's going to be around the plate, so the A's have come up there with the finger on the trigger, that's for sure.
Yeah, in the past they've been a very patient team. They like to work the count and get walks. Mark Burley's not going to walk too many people. You have to go up there swinging.
Burley's ahead 0-2 very quickly. They came over to the A's along with Marcus Semien for Jeff Smarja and Michael Yanoa. That was in December this past offseason. They were popping the seats. They may have seen Burley in spring training. They were both with the White Sox, but Flegley didn't get up to the big leagues until 2013.
Well, get him right here. If you can get a sinker down and away, maybe he can pull the ball on the ground.
Takes another shot at that inside corner.
Time just off. Burley has gone inside before, and then a lot of times when he tries to cut that fastball in on right-handers, he'll throw that changeup away. See if he gets there and gets Fegley to hit one on the ground.
In the air, popped up to right. Bautista calls for it. Pilar pulls out of the way. Bautista makes the catch. 2 down. Well, everybody's focused on the trade deadline and whether or not the Blue Jays are going to add a player or not. Blue Jays have added a player tonight, albeit a minor league deal. There are reports out that Blue Jays have signed Jabba Chamberlain, who was just released by the Detroit Tigers, a former Yankee who has pitched for the Tigers. John Gibbons probably not even aware of it yet, but Jabba Chamberlain has been signed to a minor league contract by the Blue Jays.
They're looking for veteran arms in that bullpen as a minor league contract. They're going to have to figure out a way to get him up here to the big leagues and get him on the 40-man roster.
Well, everybody knows that the Tigers have had all sorts of problems in their bullpen themselves, and Jabba Chamberlain was let go by the Tigers. Appeared in 30 games with Detroit, 22 innings, and allowed 32 hits. Not exactly glowing stats. Had a 409 earned run average. He finished 10 games, but didn't have a save opportunity. He was used in the middle of the games, and his whip was 1.682. This is playable. Josh Donaldson knows all about this foul territory here in Oakland. Makes the catch easily. Brett Laurie gets a one-out single, but he's stranded on base. The A's have left 2 already against Burley.
Ed Sprague. And Ed, first of all, what are you doing these days? I know that you spent a long time working as a coach.
Yeah, I just stepped down. I was 12 years in college baseball, so just spending some time with my family, and promised my kids I'd take them to a game. So Jays are in town. Perfect.
Let me ask you, what do you see the difference between the Blue Jays that you remember from your days in the 90s and then those playoff teams in the 80s and what we're seeing right now?
Well, I don't know if it's different. I mean, certainly this club has superstars, and we had our stars, too. I mean, I think the biggest thing is we had the ability to shorten the game. You know, I mean, I think that's the key in getting to playoffs. You look at the Royals last year. They didn't close the deal, but anytime you can shut that game down to a 5 or 6 inning game, have that depth in the bullpen, and we had Henke and Ward and Timlin. It was such a dominant bullpen, along with obviously great starters as well. And I think that's probably the biggest difference.
We remember, of course, your big home run off of Jeff Reardon, but of even more importance in some ways was a big home run that Roberto Alomar hit right here in Oakland, and you didn't get a hit as far as that home run, but you were a part of that play, weren't you, in some ways?
I was talking to Jerry Howard before the game, and it's probably the most, famous strikeout in Blue Jays history. Dennis actually struck me out. He pointed to our dugout and give his, his signature, shoot him down, and kind of got the dugout fired up, and Robbie came in next inning, hit the big home run, so got us to the series.
Does it always bring back good memories when you come and see the Blue Jays play again?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people are still involved, right? And so anytime I come out here or San Francisco or back in Toronto, it's always a lot of fun.
Well, great to catch up. Thanks for joining us tonight, Ed.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, there's Ed Sprague. Let's send it back to you, Buck.
Thank you very much, Barry. Of course, Ed Sprague spent 8 years with the Blue Jays, and he ended up as a very good third baseman. Had a nice long career, played 11 years in the big leagues. Kevin Pillar rips this one to left field, and that's going to get past Smolinski, go all the way up against the wall. Kevin Pillar with the leadoff double. Lots of Blue Jay fans, and Kevin's wife and family here in attendance.
Another off-speed pitch that stays over the middle of the plate, and Pilar is becoming a better breaking ball hitter. We saw him hit a breaking ball for an extra base hit back in Toronto. He does it again here to get the third inning started for the Blue Jays. One more thought on Ed Sprague, Buck. He's going to make a very good executive, I think, in baseball. So somebody might want to think about signing him.
Yeah, he sure will. He obviously had a great playing career. He spent 12 years as a college coach, University of Pacific. He's got Olympic baseball background. Of course, his wife, Kristen, has Olympic experience as well. She was in the Olympics in Montreal. But it's a terrific background that he presents. His father, Ed Sprague Sr., pitched for the Oakland Athletics. So they have been around baseball a lot. Yeah, you're right. He will have an opportunity to get back into baseball. Wants to make sure that people are aware of that. But he said he's going to relax and enjoy his family.
Enjoy the family. He still has some small kids. Yeah, Kristen. Still have some small kids at home. They are out at the ballpark today. But I bet you he's going to feel that urge to get back into the game, and he's going to be a good executive, good front office person.
Devin Travis takes those strikes 1 and 2 to the Blue Jays second baseman. Of course, he has in his mind the advancing Kevin Pilar if that leadoff double. For Pilar, that's his 20th double of the season. There's a pickoff to second. Pilar's back easily. Obviously, you can't really gamble if you're Pilar in this situation. You got the number 9 hitter up, and then Reyes right behind him, and then Josh Donaldson to follow.
Yeah, all you have to do is just read the ball off the bat right here. You don't want to get thrown out trying to steal. Just read the ball.
Travis gets a piece of it.
Anything hit to your right on the ground, just freeze. Just make the ball go through on the left side of the infield. Anything to the left, you're going to go ahead and advance to third base. You're already in scoring position. The number 1 hitter, the leadoff hitter, is on deck, and then Donaldson. Stay right there.
Travis strikes out. Graveman took that pitch a little bit further outside. Big strikeout for Graveman. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell.
Now batting, number 7, Jose Reyes.
Well, the Yankees, Dylan Betances went an inning and a third. He allowed 1 hit and struck out 2, and then they closed the door with Andrew Miller. Their bullpen is back intact, and that's the big difference in my mind between the Yankees and the Blue Jays right now, back into their bullpen.
And how about the rumors you're hearing around baseball? The trade deadline just 10 days away. I saw a blurb. Don't be surprised if the Yankees are in on Craig Kimbrell. I'm like, what? That'd be 3 closers in that bullpen.
Well, and you have seen around baseball, and we heard Ed Sprague talk about it with 92 and 93 with the Blue Jays, how they had a 6-inning game.
Short
Timlin, Ward, and Hinkie.
Yeah, we saw Kansas City do that last year.
Yeah. Problems are there aren't too many of those guys floating around. Reyes back up the middle. That's a base hit. Pilar's being waved around third. Here's the throw. It's going to be cut off. And Reyes continues to hit very well with runners in scoring position. Before that hit, a .323 average in clutch situations. He cashes in that leadoff double by Pilar.
You know what he did is he stayed back nicely on that ball. Looked like some kind of off-speed pitch. He stayed back on it, ripped it right back through the middle. It's on top of it. It didn't overcommit too much and think about pulling the ball. Just take it right back through the middle. Get yourself an RBI single.
You know who appreciates that hit? Devin Travis. After that strikeout.
Couldn't move that runner up.
This is Josh Donaldson batting for the second time. He takes one outside. Donaldson said it was tough to leave Oakland, but at the same time, he likes his new ball club. He enjoys his time with the Blue Jays. Donaldson signed with the Cubs. He was traded here to Oakland, but he got his first opportunity playing the big leagues with Oakland. And that becomes your team.
Yeah.
Your first major league team.
That's right. And where you've had the type of success that he had here with Oakland and the winning. He said that was the hardest thing, leaving a team that was winning. They felt like they were that close last season. And when they signed Billy Butler, he thought that that was going to be the start of a new offseason where they're going to add to the team and take him to that next level. And the next thing you knew, they started dismantling the team and letting everybody go.
It's cued off the end of the bat. You know, players sit around, and Donaldson talked about the core. He said, I felt like we were building a core. We had Reddick and we had Moss and we had guys that grew up together and came through the organization, and then to start to see the pieces being moved. He said that wasn't a good sign.
Good sign for the Blue Jays.
Very good sign for the Blue Jays. Off the plate outside. Davidson favoring the inside corner over the outside. Kendall Graveman is 24 years old. He was drafted by the Blue Jays out of Mississippi State. He was a senior when he was drafted. He stayed for his senior season.
8th round draft pick by the Blue Jays, and they loved his pitchability on the mound, but once he found that cutter last season, Kendall pitched. As that ball swung on and missed, he had pitched at least one start at every affiliate for the Blue Jays full season teams last year. Low A, high A, double A, triple A, and the big leagues.
Made 27 starts and had a 183 earned run average. His combined record for the full season was 14-6 in the minor leagues. There goes Reyes. Cut on and missed. The throw to second. A nice tag by Zobrist. The throw was on the first base side of the bag, but Zobrist got into good position and made the slap tag on Reyes. That's just the second time Reyes has been caught stealing all season long. Strong throw and a quick tag by the veteran Zobrist.
Tag TD Tuesday and tag at Blue Jays for one of 5 trips to Toronto. Buck?
Great prize, Barry, that's for sure. So make sure you log on and enter that contest. Mark Burley staked to a 2-0 lead as he works to the A's here in the third. This is Marcus Semien, who is picked up from the White Sox. There's a tapper to third. That's a fair ball. High throw and offline. Josh Donaldson commits to throwing error. That's his 11th error of the season. And Semien put the pressure on him, busted it out of the box.
Yeah, that was the key. Put the pressure on him. No loafing down that line. Also, you can see he did everything right. He planted that right foot, but then too long of a stride, and that really made that ball fire up high.
That's the value of Justin Smoke at first base. He comes off the bag and he stretches for that high throw. He is out. Billy Burns is called out. He made contact with that ball outside the batter's box. He bunted it, and then he made a second contact outside the batter's box. Bob Davidson called him out immediately, but he was clearly outside the box when that ball came up and hit him.
Goes up to try and push the ball by Burley, and watch right off the bat, Burley and Russell Martin right away caught the fact that the ball was hit twice.
That's interesting how his feet were. And Davidson said he made contact out here, and Bob Melvin, the manager of the A's, is saying, now wait a minute, he couldn't have possibly left the batter's box, but it looked like his foot was out of the batter's box when that ball came up in his bat for a second time.
And if you make contact with the ball twice, one when you're outside the batter's box, it's an out.
Yep. And that call's going to stand. Two unassisted is the play in the scorebook, and Bob Melvin just mentioned to Burns, and it's very difficult to make contact, but you could see how Burns was running with the bunt as he tried to push it up the first base line. Boy, what a big break for Burley to get it out on that bunt attempt. And now double play will get him out of the inning. Stephen Vogt playing first base tonight. He gets sawed off, and that was dropped on the warning track.
What a year that Stephen Vogt has put together. An all-star. He's got a 4-game hit streak going. He hit for power, surprising power. 14 home runs, and he's driven in 57.
This is popped up and playable. Reyes, the shortstop, backs up onto the outfield grass and makes the catch. 2 down. Vogt didn't make his debut in the big leagues till he was 27. Took him a long time, but boy, he's made the most out of his time here in Oakland. So 2 down now. Ben Zobrist, the second baseman, he was called out on strikes in the first.
Should be an interesting matchup with Burley now with 2 outs, a fast runner over at first. Everybody knows about the great pickoff move that Mark Burley has.
Marcus Semien has 8 steals.
Yeah, I think this is a running situation right here. That Oakland Athletics have the best steal percentage in the major leagues. And I think this cries out for a stolen base attempt.
There's a pickoff, and pretty good one by Burley, but Semien's back easily. Burley has allowed just 1 stolen base. He has had just 2 attempts against him all season. Zobrist gets sawed off and fouls it off his leg. Ben Zobrist has been dealing with a bad knee, a left knee injury, and I asked him about it today if it had an impact on him where he played. And it was interesting. He said, it probably impacts me more in the outfield than it does on the infield because I have to bend over and reach for balls that I'm trying to field a little bit differently than you do in the infield.
That is interesting. You would think the shuffling of your feet and how you got to really get down and field a ground ball that he would feel it more on the infield.
He actually said it just really depends on the type of ball he's trying to field, but he said he's gaining more strength with each game. Boy, what a good player he has been for a long time.
And if Oakland feels they're out of it, this guy might be an important player in the next 10 days as a trade chip.
Well, you mentioned the Yankees and the fact that they might be adding some to their pen. They also might be looking for a second baseman. Change up and a good one.
I think they definitely will be looking for a second baseman.
What do you think about David Price and pinstripes?
I can see that happening too. I can see them taking their best players out of the farm system and going for it.
Zobrist drills this to deep left center. Pillar's got room. He calls for it and makes the catch. Carrera peels out of the way. They collide, but Kevin Pillar makes the catch on that drive off the bat of Ben Zobrist. So the error by Donaldson to lead off the inning doesn't hurt. Defense in the outfield has been terrific, especially Pilar. For the season, and Carlos Delgado is the all-time franchise leader in home runs with 336.
2 on that list. Vernon Wells at 223, and the next home run by Bautista will tie Vernon Wells at 223. So he's got second place in sights this season very easily. I don't think he's going to be able to overtake Carlos Delgado. That's a lot of home runs.
Bautista has really jumped up the leaderboard in RBIs. He has 63 now, along with those 19 home runs. Bautista tied with Mark Teixeira, second in the American League. How about Kendrys Morales leading the American League in RBIs? Everybody heard the announcement the Royals have signed Kendrys Morales, and everybody's going, oh, that's too bad. Why would Kansas City waste their money on him? Who knew? Bautista hits it hard, backhanded by Simeon. It's short. Scooped over at first by Stephen Roden.
Let's take a look at the scouting report for Kendall Graveman. And the pitch usage, you see the fastball he uses it 56% of the time. He can cut it, sink it, use a four-seamer also. The cutter is an important pitch for him. He'll throw that a quarter of the time. And you can see it's hard. It's about 86 miles per hour. Mix in a changeup and a curveball. And off of that curveball, they're hitting 103 this season, 225 against that cutter. Still has to keep the ball down. Still going to have to hit his spots. When he makes mistakes, he gives up the home run like he did last time to Encarnacion.
Edwin took him deep to left field. This time it's a ball off the end of the bat. Laurie throws out Encarnacion. 2 more ground ball outs here in the fourth.
But you know what I like about Kendall Graveman? He's got a very simple windup. He stays compact. He's a strike thrower. Doesn't shoot the ball all over the strike zone. He can hit his spots, and the ball moves. He's got a lot of late movement.
You always talk about pitchers that have movement. What's that do for a pitcher as far as being effective against a hitter?
Well, he's going to get a lot of ground ball outs. That's what's going to happen. He's just not going to get the ball squared up too often. And when you start squaring the ball up, that's when you start getting line drives, extra base hits. As a hitter, you just keep hitting the top of that baseball and keep beating it into the ground.
This is Justin Smoke. It's a high fly ball to left. There's a lot of room down the left field line. Zwolinski gets there. That's a fair ball. And Smoke flies out to left. 3 up, 3 down. The Blue Jays go quietly in the top of the fourth.
real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and much, much more. MLB.tv Premium also includes a free At-Bat 15 subscription. Watch baseball at home, at the office, or on the go. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Bye.
Thank you very much, Barry. We'd like to thank that fan who had that nice sign that said hello to us from Chilliwack. Blue Jays will be in Seattle Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon. And you can bet there's going to be a lot of Blue Jay fans there. Come on down. It's always a good time, Pat. We love to see all the fans down there in Seattle. Chance to say hi to everybody that comes out west.
Yeah, you see them all over town. Not just at the ballpark. You see them in the hotel. You see them on the streets. They love the Blue Jays.
Blue Jay fans travel very well. Nice backhanded grab by Reyes. Billy Butler is retired. That's the first time in several years that the Blue Jays will go to Seattle on a weekend. And you can bet it's going to be a festive weekend. But the Blue Jays, they've got to take care of the A's before they think about Seattle.
Yeah, it's another one of those big road trips for the Blue Jays. They're going to be facing some very good pitching here in Oakland and in Seattle. So, you know what I think they have to do? The most important thing on this road trip is make the plays on defense. They're going to be facing teams that don't really knock the cover off the baseball, so they're going to have to make plays. When their pitchers make pitches and there are ground balls or fly balls, they're going to have to make plays. Get the routine outs. I think the hitting will take care of itself. The Blue Jays hit it.
Ground ball. Donaldson gets a nice hop. Throws out Smolinski. Burley's got the ground ball working.
14 of them in his last start against Kansas City when he won his 10th game of the season. He's only given up 3 balls in the air so far tonight.
You know, the Blue Jays took a little heat for the way they set up their rotation to start the second half, but Hutchison opened it up, and Burley wasn't slated to pitch until game 4. Oh, knocked down by Travis, and Laurie has his second hit, a hot shot off the glove of the second baseman. Travis dove for it, got a glove on it, but he just knocked it down, and Brett Laurie is 2 for 2.
Yeah, you know, we talked about Josh Donaldson wanting to show the Oakland A's that they made a mistake in trading him. How about Brett Laurie wanting to do it to his former team? This would have been a great play by Travis if he comes up with that ball. But Brett Laurie starting to hit the ball with a little bit more regularity.
For Laurie, his average now at 284 with 2 hits tonight. 2-0 Blue Jays. The hits are even at 3 apiece. Legley pops it up. That's going to reach the seats. But we mentioned how the rotation was set up for the first half, and everybody was concerned about Hutchison, but Gibbons said, hey, Hutch pitches great at home. We'll take advantage of that, and he will open things up. And then you look at Marco Estrada, how well he has pitched. Ari Dickey pitched a good ball game, 4 hits in 6 innings, so it's set up very well. They won 2 of 3 against Tampa Bay.
Marco pitches very well against Tampa.
And then the flip side of that is you get 2 left-handers against Oakland, and Oakland's record against left-handed starters coming into this game, 6 and 17, worst in the majors. So John Gibbons put a little thought into the way he set up the 5-man rotation first time through. Mark Burley is firing strikes. The changeup strikes out Josh Phegley. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Kevin Barker.
Bobblehead Day. It's part of our long weekend in the city. The first 20,000 fans on August the 3rd. That is the Monday will receive a Russell Martin bobblehead. It's the Blue Jays and Royals at 1:07. Go to bluejays.com for tickets. And if that little picture is any indication, guys, that is one awesome-looking bobblehead.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? Everything looks pretty authentic with the beard, the mask on top of his hat, down in a catcher's position. Pretty cool giveaway. Graveman, he's given up 2 runs tonight. And this A's starting staff has been on a roll. The home run that Graveman allowed is just the 6th home run the starters have allowed in their last 19 games. They keep it in the ballpark.
Yeah, this pitching staff, not a lot of household names on the Oakland A's, but they get the job done.
The other interesting note on the 2 runs allowed by Graveman, the A's starting pitchers came into this game allowing 1 run or fewer in 25 of the last 50 games. That'll keep you in the ball game.
That'll keep you in the game, and that's why I was saying last inning that it's important for the Blue Jays when they are on defense to make plays.
Martin hits it on the ground to the second baseman. Zobrist throws him out. We have talked about the Donaldson Blue Jays trade, and you see the Jays get Josh Donaldson while the A's get Brett Lawrie, Kendall Graveman, Sean Nolan, and Franklin Barreto. And overall, I think it's been a good trade for both teams to this point.
Both teams got exactly what they were looking for. The Blue Jays were looking for some leaderships and some power and some control of the contract of Josh Donaldson, and he has provided that in spades for the Blue Jays so far. Oakland was looking for some young players that they can start the rebuild with. They got a young shortstop in Barreto. They got Brett Lawrie to play some third base, replace Josh Donaldson. They got a young starter in Kendall Graveman, and they also got Sean Nolan, a left-hander, who was also in that deal. The player that they're really excited about is the shortstop.
Franklin Barreto is 19 years old. He is in the California League, high A ball, playing at Stockton, hitting .299 with 12 homers, 43 RBIs, and 8 stolen bases. And he's 3 years younger than the average player in the California League. So he is a real young, high rising prospect. People in Vancouver will remember him from last year when he played for the Canadians. In Vancouver, he hit .311 last year. He drove in 61 runs as a shortstop in short season.
In a short season, that's important. Where they play 70 games. That's pretty good. That's a bat, an impact bat at shortstop. Something that they gave away when they got Jeff Samardzija.
Carrera strikes out. 2 down. Let's check in again with Jamie Campbell.
Now batting, number 11, Kevin Pillar.
Neftali Feliz gave up 5 earned runs in an inning of work, and we talk about Jabba Chamberlain being let go by the Tigers. Tigers got big problems in their bullpens.
Yes, they do.
Albuquerque, Kroll, Rondon, Feliz, and Wilson all pitched out of the bullpen, and it was not a good night for the Tigers. Kevin Pillar gets it over Brett Laurie's head into left field. Kevin Pillar is 2 for 2.
You know, that's another devastating loss for Detroit. They had a lead last week, I believe, with Price, as Lawrie comes in momentarily and then gets beat on that high chopper by Pillar. They had a large lead with David Price, gave up, I believe, something like 7 runs in the 9th inning to lose a game. Now they lose another game late that they had a big lead in.
Tigers were ahead 8-7 in that game and then gave up a 5 spot in the 8th. Boy, those are the ones that kill you. Those big innings late in the game. Nelson Cruz and Franklin Gutierrez homered for Seattle. Of course, the Blue Jays will see the Mariners on Friday. Devin Travis struck out in his first at bat. Boy, they're working him away, aren't they?
Yeah, we've seen teams try to crowd Devin Travis, and we've seen teams try to stay away from him. I think the strength for Devin as a hitter is the ball away from him, where he can stride into that ball and shoot it to right field.
Another pitch away. We have two of the best young rookies in the American League, and Billy Burns in center field for Oakland, and Devin Travis for the Blue Jays. When you look at the American League departmental leaders in the rookie department, Burns is first and Travis is second in batting average. Travis has a distinct advantage with 7 home runs. Kevin Pillar, what a job he did. He had a big lead, and when Fagley came up to make a pickoff throw to first, Pillar took off for second, and there was no play.
And no one covered the bag at second base, so Pillar said, thank you very much. I'll pick up 90 feet. Watch it one more time. He takes his secondary lead. Fagley tries to fake a throw, and there's nobody at the bag.
You know, it looked like a delayed steal the way he bounced off of there, and then Fagley came up and pumped toward first, and Pillar was gone. It's 14 stolen bases for Kevin Pillar. Travis very aware that the pattern is down and away. He's just got to make an adjustment here,
which he has shown an aptitude to, just to take that ball the other way. Look where all those pitches are clustered down and away.
That pitch is off the plate, but he stays on it and fouls it off to stay alive.
Josh Reddick in right field can really throw, and he has shortened up just a little bit now with 2 strikes. So what Pillar's got to do, he's got to get a secondary lead, a big secondary lead, and go on contact.
Well, he's got a lot of room. You can see the middle infielders playing well away from the bag at second. He can really bounce off of there. There he goes toward third. Here's the throw. Safe. Laurie made a high tag on Pillar, and he steals a second base this inning.
We want to take a look at this one. The throw looked like it beat him, but you're right. The tag was a little bit too high by Laurie. Watch where he catches it. And he tags him right on his thigh, but it looked like the foot might have been in there.
Well, that's a good slide by Pillar. As that straight right leg hit the bag, it looked like it hit the bag before Laurie slapped the tag on it. And the A's are delaying until they get word from their replay room, and now it looks like they have given up the ghost. Another stolen base for Pillar. That's 15 now.
I love the slide. It was straight in on the legs. Watch this, straight in. He is on the bag right there, and Brett still hasn't put the tag on him. He actually tagged him on the left leg.
It's really interesting, and you'll see infielders do this all the time. Where's the base runner going? He's going to the base. So take that glove and stick it right down on the base. Pillar picks up another big steal. Full count to Devin Travis. Ball 4. Good job by Travis. They worked him away. Only 1 pitch inside the entire at bat. And Travis works Graveman for the 2-out walk. Boy, that's a huge at bat. Now you bring Reyes to the plate with runners at the corners and 2 outs. And Reyes has been terrific. Batting with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, batting .407.
Right man at the right spot. You've got speed on the bases for the Blue Jays. How about a gapper?
Reyes 1 for 2. Fagley is a little bit antsy as he came out of the chute, expecting the Blue Jays might try to steal a run.
I don't think so. Not right now, especially not early in the count. Not with 1 swing can get you 2 runs, I think, from Jose Reyes.
Off-speed pitch, and Reyes swings and misses.
And he was swinging the bat like he wanted to get an extra base hit right there. A little bit too wild. The last time, there are the numbers you were just talking about, buck 407. Runners in scoring position with 2 outs. The last time when he picked up that single to center field, he stayed back on the ball, let it come to him, didn't overswing.
We had a good eye there as that ball was down and away. Blue Jays with 2 runs already. Last July they scored 4 total runs in the 4 games against Oakland when they were swept in that series. Another off-speed pitch. 2-2, 2 outs.
He's not going to throw anything straight right here, so you got to shorten it up. Shorten up that swing. Track that ball.
Blue Jays got a solo home run from Encarnacion in the second. Reyes had an RBI base hit in the third. He's trying to add to their 2-0 lead. Breaking ball pulled foul. Oakland has played well since the end of May. Since May 23rd, they have a 29-21 record. That's the 4th best record in baseball over that span.
That's right, when Graveman was recalled back up from the minor leagues. Got that pitching staff all straightened out.
It's also the same time Ron Washington was signed and came back into the organization, working as an instructor. That's in the dirt. Washington, the former third base coach for the Athletics, then he became the manager for Texas, stepped down in Texas as the manager. And Oakland brought him back on the 22nd of May to help with the infield defense. We're in the 5th. Kevin Pillar is 2 for 2. He has stolen 2 bases this inning. Devin Travis had a 2-out walk, first to third. 2 down for Reyes. Full count. Travis is on the move. Reyes strikes out. Another off-speed pitch. Graveman, his 4th strikeout. The Blue Jays strand a pair. Will head to the bottom of the 5th. The Jays up 2-0.
And now the Canadian women's soccer team continues its quest for glory. Tomorrow, a showdown against Colombia, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific on Sportsnet 1. And we should congratulate Team Canada's baseball team, Buck. What a terrific performance from them.
They won gold and they beat Team USA in the finals of that game. And a terrific opportunity. How about Pete Orr getting a chance to score the winning run? And Jeff Francis started that game for Canada. Terrific gold medal victory in the Pan Am Games. Mark Burley has a 2-0 lead. This is Josh Reddick. He's batting 8th. Reddick popped out to Donaldson to end the second.
About the year Josh Reddick is having. He'll bounce back after the wrist injury. That really set him back, I think, for 2 seasons.
Yeah, and he's got a fine slash line. This is off the end of the bat. That's going to sneak past Devin Truss. This is interesting. We were talking about this today, Pat, how everybody is keeping track of all the shifts. Oh, they've shifted 1,500 times this year, and they've saved so many runs. Well, how many times has the shift cost you?
That might have been one right there. I think it looked like Devin Travis was really playing Josh Reddick to pull. And a lot of times left-handed batters versus left-handed pitchers will wait just a little bit longer so they don't give in to that breaking ball, so they don't pull the ball as much as they would against right-handers. That time it looked like it was just a ground ball to second base.
And Burley reacted as if he was surprised that got through the infield. This is the number 9 here, Marcus Semien. Fouls it back. But you know what? Everybody is so conscious of shifting their defense. And I'll grant you, Mark Burley can hit his spots. You know, he puts a game plan together. He's going to make the pitches that the team expects. That ball is ripped to left field. Carrera's going to play it on a bounce. So ground ball and a line drive. The A's have something going here in the 5th.
The A's are going to live with Marcus Semien at shortstop because he could really swing the bat. Took that ball down and in and ripped it into left field. He's making strides defensively at shortstop, but this is why they like him in the lineup. He can hit.
So this is Billy Burns, and he is the speedster. Josh Donaldson over to check with Burley, see what kind of bunt defense they're going to employ here. Burns does not have a sacrifice bunt this season.
The whole team only has 7. The Oakland A's.
Of course, Billy Beane, who started the statistical analysis, has always felt like the bunt is a waste of an out. They have stayed with that philosophy. But this time they show bunt, and Burns takes a strike. He started to turn, but that was all the deep.
Yeah, the thinking is you only get 3 outs an inning, so why give the team an out?
Burns is a free swinger, boy. He doesn't take many pitches.
So don't throw him a strike. You're ahead 0-2 now. Don't throw anything close to the plate.
He has grounded into 3 double plays, and if there's anybody on the Blue Jays pitching staff that can really play into that, don't throw him a strike, it's Burley. He knows how to expand the zone.
Yeah, and he can do that.
And he does just there. We talk about the 2 rookies in this ball game. Burns and Travis top of the list. Carlos Correa, the young shortstop in Houston, right behind him. But you're seeing the 2 top rookies in the hitting department here in this game tonight. Little flare in the right. Bautista comes in, makes the catch, and the runners have to hold.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
After that fly ball out, Russell Martin went out to chat with Mark Burley. That may have been to switch the signs with Josh Reddick at second. He's savvy enough to pick up on any pattern, so Russell might have just switched up which sequence they're going to use in this second at bat with Reddick at second.
Yeah, you can look out there as a catcher and maybe you think something's a little fishy with that runner out at second base. He might be doing something to give away location or sign.
Two quick strikes. Burley painting the corners. First pitch breaking ball. Second pitch fastball. Stephen Vogt 0 for 2 so far. Line to Reyes. That'll end the inning. How about that? Vogt hits it hard, but right to the shortstop. A line drive double play. That closes out the fifth. Back-to-back singles to start the inning. No problem for Mark Buehrle. He gets a fly ball and a line drive double play. It's still 2-0 Jays. It'll be the Dodgers in Atlanta to take on the Braves. It all starts at 12 Eastern. That's 9 Pacific on Sportsnet. Make sure you check that out. Dodgers are tearing it up right now, and they're getting some terrific pitching. The LA Dodgers 53-41, 3.5 games over the San Francisco Giants. Atlanta 7 games back in the NL East. That's all tomorrow. Kendall Graveman facing Josh Donaldson. Two principals in that November trade in the offseason. Donaldson is over 2 with a strikeout. One thing about Graveman, he will not shy away from the strike zone. He understands that you've got to try to get outs in the strike zone, and you can't be tentative. Breaking ball to Hopper to Laurie. In time. 1 down. Well, we talk about positioning, and Mark Buehrle, he really likes to get on everybody, players, coaches, or anything. Now watch Buehrle. Luis Rivera moves the infield defense around, and Buehrle obviously talking about the ball, and he winked at Pete Walker. He says, Pete, let me watch me get Louis here. He said, how can you have that guy at second base there? That was a ground ball out.
He's just razzing him right now. Hey, I'm making my pitch. I'm doing everything, and you have him in the wrong place.
Jose Bautista, how about home runs in 3 straight? And that ties him with Vernon Wells on the franchise home run list. Home run number 20 for the Blue Jays right fielder.
You know, that looked like the carbon copy of the Edwin Encarnacion pitch and swing. When Edwin homered in the second inning, Blue Jays, you knew something was going to happen here. This is a team, the Oakland A's, pitchers that don't give up a lot of home runs against a team, the Blue Jays, who hit a ton of home runs and score a ton of runs. Who's going to win it? Well, so far tonight, it's been the hitters who have had the upper hand against the A's pitching.
Well, the Blue Jays, one of the best home run hitting ball clubs. They trail the Astros in that department. And coming into this game, Oakland had allowed just 74 home runs.
Same pitch, a little cutter that stays on the inner half. And the big bat of Bautista takes him deep. That's 20 home runs now for Jose.
As we mentioned, that ties him with Vernon Wells on the franchise home run list. Boy, what a good swing. The bat out in front, he connects and squares up on that fastball.
Well, the best thing that we have seen tonight, and really late in the last couple of games, those two guys seem to be heating up a little bit.
Encarnacion and Bautista, they've always been the meat of the order for the Blue Jays, and they are swinging it right now. With that home run, now Bautista has 64 RBIs.
6 straight seasons now for Jose of at least 20.
That's ball 4. Seems to be some confusion. Now, Edwin's all set. He'll take ball 4. That's the second walk issued by Graveman.
Now batting, number 14, Justin Smoke.
So Graveman, after getting Donaldson to ground out, gives up a home run and now a walk. We're in the 6th inning. Justin Smoke takes one down and away. Smoke is 0 for 2 with a ground out and a flyout. The A's have seen a lot of Smoke, and they have put the shift on him, expecting him to pull it against Graveman.
It'd be interesting if he hits a ground ball to the right side. Who in the middle of the diamond is going to turn the double play?
It's got to be the shortstop, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he's playing at second base. Look at the angle that the throw's going to have to come from and where he's got to go. I think it might be easier for Brett Lordy just to come across the bag.
Two balls and a strike, 1 out. Dan Otero, the right-hander, starting to loosen up for Oakland. They have had their problems in the bullpen. Got a pitch outside.
Boy, that's a good at bat right now for Smokey. He is eyeballing him, and he is not going after that pitch just off the plate.
Well, he's had a chance to get some regular at bats recently, and that serves him well. Well, he thought that was off the plate outside. Bob Davison thought otherwise. Full count now with 1 out. Scampers back to first.
He's not going anywhere. And the Blue Jays have already had one strike him out, throw him out tonight. They're not going to do that. This is not the 2 batters and runners that you're going to deal with that.
Not running. Ball 4. So back-to-back walks here in the 6th, and Graveman has pitched himself into trouble.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
O.Co Coliseum. Oakland moved here in '68. They moved the A's from Kansas City to Oakland. And they have played all their games right here in this ballpark. There's been some renovations to the ballpark, but basically it's the same field that Charlie Finley brought his A's to back in '68.
Different names. They've gone through a couple of different names. Some great teams here.
Russell Martin batting with 2 aboard, 1 out.
Boy, he's lost it. After that home run by Bautista, it's almost like Graveman has said, okay, I can't be that aggressive anymore. He walks Encarnacion. He nibbles and walks Smoke, and now he falls behind Martin.
There he finds it again. He evens the count at a ball and a strike. Way outside. You're right. Graveman has Certainly lost his command of the strike zone. He has walked 3-2 this inning. He's given up a pair of home runs. Leadoff home run in the second to Encarnacion. A one-out home run this inning to Bautista. Martin goes after that high pitch.
Yeah, it might have been ball 3 right there. Now he's back into it. It looks like he's really laboring right now here in the 6th inning. He's right around 100 pitches. You can see what happens as they go through the lineup. Get a little bit better. You can see he's breathing harder. He's taking his time in between pitches.
There's another deep drive to left. Martin has squared it up and hit it out. A 3-run home run for Russell Martin. His 13th of the season. And the Blue Jays have busted it wide open.
Using the big bats, the big home run bats of the Blue Jays. Bautista with the second of the night for the Jays. And then after a couple of walks, a huge mistake by Kendall Graveman. He grooves one right down the middle for Russell Martin, and Russell loses it. His 13th home run, and that's going to spell the night for Graveman. Didn't you get the sense that he was getting tired there?
It sure looked like it. He walked 2 after the Bautista home run, and then a costly 3-run home run, and Graveman will be out of this game. Russell Martin, boy, he needed a big hit, and he got one right there. Home run number 13 for Martin. That knocks Kendall Graveman out of the ball game. The Blue Jays have a 6-0 lead. Russell Martin with 2 aboard hits his 13th home run of the season, and it's a no doubt.
Yeah, and Kendall Graveman knows it too. It looked like he'd been laboring after the home run by Bautista. Walks to Encarnacion and Smoke, and then on the 99th and final pitch of the night, 3-run home run for Russell Martin. That brings in Dan Otero for the 25th time this season. Otero was just recalled also on July the 12th. This is his second stint with the Oakland A's this year. He has had his problems at the beginning of this year.
Home runs were a problem for Otero. He's allowed 4 home runs and 25 in the 3rd. That is a total departure from his MO. He's always been a guy that keeps the ball in the ballpark. He allowed just 4 home runs in his previous 117 games.
Exactly. He's not overpowering. He's got that 2-seam sinker. Yeah, the fastball, he's just been missing his spots, and he's been getting hit hard.
Well, the Blue Jays scored 6 runs on 6 hits. That's 2 more runs than they scored in the 4-game series last July. Bouncing ball to short. Big hop for Simon. Otero retires Carrera.
Now batting, number 11, Kevin Pillar.
Kevin Pillar is off to a good start to his road trip. 2 for 2 with a run scored and 2 stolen bases.
And a nice catch in left center field.
Well, it's good to see those two big bats coming around, and they have always been the biggest part of this lineup. Bautista and Encarnacion have both homered tonight. Laurie cuts in front of the shortstop and throws out Pilar. Otero closes out the Blue Jays in the 6th. But it all started with 1 out. Donaldson grounded out the start, and Bautista said, how about number 20? He's homered in 3 straight. And then Russell Martin with 2 aboard hits his 13th of the season. 6-0 for Mark Burley.
Featuring analysis, opinions, and interviews. Hosted by Ben Nicholson-Smith and Arden Zwelling. Available to download every Tuesday on iTunes and Sportsnet.ca. And one of the topics on their latest podcast was Aaron Sanchez. And today he pitched out of the bullpen, guys, for the Buffalo Bisons. It did not go very well. It's going to be interesting to see if they indeed bring him up this week that they spoke about.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Blue Jays react to Sanchez working out of the bullpen. He had been a starter previously in his rehab. He has not pitched since June 6th. He's been out a while. This is Ben Zobrist batting against Mark Burley.
And now you got Jabba Chamberlain into the mix also.
Yeah, I don't think Jabba Chamberlain factors in. I think he's going to have to go down the minor leagues and show the Blue Jays some command, some success, and put up some zeros. Up the middle. This time Travis gets to it, but it's not in time. The throw is in the dirt. Smoke can't handle it. Then Zobrist hit it right over the mound. Mark Burley kicked at it, trying to slow it down. Travis got to it, but Zobrist is aboard with an infield hit.
Yeah, it should be an infield hit for Zobrist. Right back through the middle. You can see they're shading him up the middle. I think Devin would have been better off if he could have backhanded the ball, planted the right foot, and then got a little bit more on that throw. That's where you got to be a little bit confident. You can see the extra steps that it took him to unload that ball. He still couldn't get enough on it. If he backhands it, plants the right foot all in one motion, I think he gets him.
It is a base hit for Zobrist. Billy Butler, the DH, fouls it straight back. Butler is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Mark Burley has been on quite a run. Burley is pitching in the 6th inning here. And when you look at Mark Burley for the body of work this season, he's been terrific. But when you look at his start record, he's got 8 straight games in starts, 6 or more innings, 2 or fewer earned runs. I mean, that's the longest such streak in Blue Jays franchise history. This ball is driven to right. Bautista is going to make the catch. Burley, his season got off to a rocky start, although he was able to record 5 wins in his first 9 starts. Look at the ERA, 5.13. Opponent's hitting over 300, but boy, over his last 9 starts, he has really been in a groove.
You know where, for me, it started was that start in Minnesota. I'm not sure how far back that is, but it just jumps out at me. He got rocked early in that start and then finished the game, ended up throwing 9 innings and won that game, giving up 4 earned runs. He faced the minimum after a 4-run first inning, and he's been on a roll ever since.
That was the turning point in this season in my mind. You'll remember the bullpen was up throwing in that first inning. He'd given up 4 runs to Minnesota, and then after that it's as if he said, okay, that's enough. I've had enough to this rocky start to my season. And since then, he's been terrific.
Followed that up with a complete game shutout at Washington, and that was 9 starts ago. That start against the Minnesota Twins.
Well, we mentioned Burley's streak of 8 straight games, 6 or more innings pitched, and 2 or fewer earned runs all time for the Blue Jays. That's the highest mark. This ball is trouble. Millar's not going to get to it. It goes up against the wall. Zobrist is being waved around. They've got a shot at him at the plate. The throw is not in time. Zobrist scores on the Smolinski drive to the wall in right center. For Smolinski, that's his 12th RBI, and the A's are on the board here in the 6th.
Couple of ground outs from Smolinski his first 2 times up. Now he got a pitch out over the plate, and instead of trying to pull it, he went right with it and split the gap into right center field. Ball up and away. You can see this ball slicing away from Pilar. By the time Kevin runs that ball down in deep right center field, it's going to be an RBI triple for Jake Smolinski. And Oakland's on the board.
First triple of the season for Smolinski, the veteran. Zobrist scoring all the way from first. The infield will play back. 6-1 now. Brett Lawrie is 2 for 2. Lawrie singled to right and hit a hot shot up the middle. It was knocked down by Travis. Taking all the way, it's 2-1.
That's surprising. 2 for 2. 2-0 pitch runner at third base, taken all the way.
Now it's 2-2. Burley continues to work very quickly.
Let's see if he tries to run that cutter in on his hands. Now he has kept everything away from Brett all night long.
Going away again. Fouls that one off Russell Martin's mask. Well, you're right. And you can see the pattern of pitches in Pitch Tracker. It's all away. And boy, if there's not a pitch that just screams out inside, it's right now.
Cutter now, what you're hoping for is for Brett to take it.
Ball is popped in the air. A lot of room here in Oakland. Smoke's got room. He makes the catch, and Smolinski's going to have to hold at third. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell.
Batting the catcher, 19, Josh Begley.
Things haven't gone well for the Red Sox after the All-Star break, and they are really scuffling. And they have committed tons of money to this team, and it's not working out right now.
Tough road trip to start the second half.
They dropped 10 games under 500. 10 games back of the front-running Yankees. And they are in the cellar. Catcher Josh Begley has gone 0 for 2. 1-1 count now for Burley. Boy, he can get some funky swings, can he?
Yep. Begley's got some power. If you pitch him inside, he can reach the seats in left field. Burley's, for some reason, when he throws the ball, batters just have a tough time picking up on it. And then that cutter makes him do that.
Reyes hits short. In time, that'll end the inning. Mark Burley now has 9 consecutive starts, 6 or more innings, 2 or fewer runs. That's a franchise record for the Blue Jays.
On Monday, August the 3rd, the day before that, on August the 2nd, all part of our Blue Jays long weekend in the city. It will be our Welcome Mat Day. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays welcome mat. It's the Jays and the Royals 107. Go to BlueJays.com for more details. It looks like we're going to have a lot of giveaways during that long weekend, Buck.
Should be a lot of fun, and a lot of Blue Jay fans will be on hand. That's the way things are for the Blue Jays when they're on the road. Blue Jays fans travel very well no matter where they're playing. So far so good for the Jays. Started this road trip. They have a 6-1 lead as they're set to bat in the 7th. Dan Otero, the right-hander, got 2 outs in the 6th to end the 6th in relief of Kendall Graveman. Devin Travis drew a walk his last time up. He is 0 for 1 with a strikeout and a walk.
You know, for a young player like Devin Travis, he's pretty mature at the plate. He doesn't know this league. He hasn't faced these pitchers before, but he just gives good at-bats.
It's his first game in Oakland. First game against the Athletics in his career. When we heard about Devin Travis, we said he was an advanced offensive player. And he certainly has lived up to that. But I think his defense has been much better than advertised.
How about the double plays?
Very quick. Louis Rivera's done a terrific job, and you'll remember early in the season, Travis got hit a few times at second trying to turn double plays, and Louis gave him a couple of options on how to turn double plays, and it's been great since then.
He hasn't been hit around the bag. He was turning the double play one way, just with his left foot on the bag and then making the play. There's Louis Rivera, the third base coach for the Blue Jays. He showed him different ways to come across the bag so the runners don't nail him around the bag.
Well, there's an inside pitch, good sinker from Otero. He's retired 3 batters since coming into this ball game. That's his first strikeout.
He doesn't strike out that many batters. Gets a lot of ground ball outs. That time, that thing just came in on Devin. You can see he's looking for that ball outside, and it just goes right underneath the bat. Second time that Travis has struck out tonight.
That's a dive bombing sinker right there. One down in the 7th. Back to the top of the order. Jose Reyes is 1 for 3. Now he's 2 for 4. Another 2-hit night for Reyes. Boy, he is swinging the bat well. He's closing in on 290 now.
Why wait around? Get that first pitch sinker. Go out there and get it. That's what Jose does as he rips it into right field.
Here is Josh Donaldson in his first game against his former team. First pitch strike. How did you fare against pitchers that you played with?
I hated it, first of all. I hated it because they were your teammates and they were your guys, and I took it like you almost expected to get a hit because you were supposed to know those guys. You know what they threw, then you knew what the ball looked like. I hated facing them.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. You get back thinking, okay, well, I know everything about Otero. He throws sinkers and sliders. I should be able to hit him.
I should get a hit, and you feel like you fail when you don't.
Inside. As a catcher, certainly you have extra information, and I can remember when I was traded from Kansas City, going to Milwaukee, facing Paul Spudorf and Dennis Leonard and Larry Gura and all those guys I caught for so many years. I had success against Gura and Spudorf, but not that much. This ball's trouble. That's going to split the outfielders and go all the way to the wall. Reyes is cruising around third. He's going to come in to score, and Josh Donaldson has an RBI double. 7-1 Blue Jays. They get that run right back for Donaldson, RBI number 63.
And doesn't that feel good? Coming back into the ballpark where you've had a lot of success. This is Josh's first hit here tonight, and it's a big one. That is a line drive up the alley in left center field. Scores Reyes all the way from first base. It's a good feeling standing out there after an RBI double.
A lot of Donaldson fans in attendance, and their emotions are split right now after Josh gets that 6-run lead back for the Blue Jays. 7-1 now. Bautista homered his last time up with 1 out in the 6th inning. It's his 20th home run of the season. He has homered in 3 straight games now. That one got in on him a little bit. Donaldson's going back to tag. The catch is made at the wall. The throw from Smolinski. Well, what a good job by Donaldson. He read it immediately off the bat. Sensed that it wasn't going to go out of the ballpark, and if he did, he could score easily. But Bautista flies out to the wall, and Donaldson moves up 90 feet.
Boy, what a read right there. You say, well, what's the big deal? You're up by 6 runs. You're playing this game to win, and you're showing your teammates you're not going to give in at any time. He tags up on a long fly ball to left field, advances, now can score on a single.
He just missed it, and Bautista knows it. That ball got in him just a tad. He was gunning for his 2nd home run of the game. Edwin Encarnacion, he's gone deep tonight. He got everything started for the Blue Jays with a leadoff homer in the 2nd. He's got 19 home runs. This is where things fell apart for the Blue Jays last year, not only because they were swept in the 4-game series, but Edwin Encarnacion injured his quad muscle and missed over a month.
And the offense went south.
He injured that leg running up the first base line on a ground out, and he went down in a heap, and that was the beginning of the end for the Blue Jays. Inside, Encarnacion will walk for a 2nd time.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
So Otero walks Encarnacion. He is out of the game. It'll be the lefty Fernando Abad in to face the switch hitter Justin Smoke when we come back. Fernando Abad into the ball game. This will be his 34th appearance of the season. Interesting numbers as you look at Abad. He is much better against right-handed hitters than he is against lefties, and that's why they have flipped around the switch hitter, Justin Smoke.
He's got that heavy running changeup. I think that's why the right-handers have had their problems against Abad. He's got enough fastball to get in on the lefties. He's got excellent control, especially with that fastball, with a very good changeup. Justin Smoke from the right side this year is a lot better than he is from the left side.
Yeah, he certainly has put up decent numbers for Smoke. 234 facing right-handed bats, 385 against lefties. But he only has 13 at bats. They might want to run him out there a little more often against the left-handed pitchers.
He's got 5 hits. 2 of them have been home runs as a right-handed batter so far this season.
Two balls and a strike to Smoke. About working with 2 outs here in the 7th. Blue Jays have scored a run. Josh Donaldson with an RBI double in the 7th. Drove home Jose Reyes, who picked up his 2nd hit of the night. This is popped up over near the seats. Vote with a long run, and it's going to be out of play into the seats. You know, everybody's looking at this 6-game road trip saying, boy, this is a make-or-break road trip. And sure it is. But when you really look at it, Pat, every game now is make or break.
Yeah.
Closing in on 100 games for the season, and you're running out of games. You can't afford to lose a series. I don't care if you're on the road or at home.
You just have to think about winning the day you're playing. You have to think about Friday night when you're going to face King Felix up in Seattle, or who you're. You got to think about tonight. And with that mindset, I think you'll be just fine. It's not April and May where you say, well, you know, we'll get hot at some point and put together a nice winning streak, and that'll take care of all the problems. You got to think about winning every night now.
The Yankees beat the Orioles 3-2 tonight in New York. The Tampa Bay Rays, what an interesting game. They beat Philadelphia 1-0. Nathan Carnes hit a home run, and he won the game. A 1-0 ball game in Philadelphia for Tampa Bay. 3-2, 2 outs. There goes Encarnacion. Smoke strikes out. The bar comes in and gets Smoke to end the inning, but the Blue Jays add another run. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. It's 7-1 Jays behind Mark Burley.
For anybody who's dreamed about playing in the majors to actually experience it. It is Blue Jays Fantasy Camp November 15th to the 20th in Dunedin, Florida. Join Roberto Alomar, George Bell, Jesse Barfield, and many more for the ultimate Major League experience. The package includes airfare, hotel, meals, uniform, and 4 days of baseball. Spots are limited. Go to BlueJays.com/fantasycamp for more details. Do you think Alomar could teach me how to catch a pop fly in a camera bay, Buck?
Well, he's a Hall of Famer, but I don't think he could do that.
Wow. You're asking a lot. You're asking a lot of the Hall of Famer.
Mark Burley is dealing like a Hall of Famer tonight. 1 run on 7 hits. Reddick, Simeon, and then back to the top of the order, Billy Burns. Burley has left a base runner on in each of the 6 innings tonight. He's been able to pitch out of situations. Boy, he really got in the kitchen of Reddick right there.
81 miles an hour. Okay? And you get that funky type of swing right there from Josh Reddick. He's got the slowest fastball in the major leagues, but he's won 10 games, and he gets crazy swings like that.
Burley's got extra rest, obviously. His last start came 10 days ago prior to the break. Ball is hit to left. Carrera back, makes the catch. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He's got another update for us.
Now batting shortstop, number 10, Marcus Simeon.
The cycle, boy, that is a tough accomplishment. And as Jamie mentioned, the triple came in his last at bat. 4 for 5. He scored 3 runs and drove in 3 runs. As the Rockies really took it on the chin. Kyle Kendrick started for Colorado. He gave up 6 runs on 10 hits and 4 1/3. Matt Harrison back. Picked up the win, his first of the season. Marcus Simeon reached on an air and had a single. He has been on base twice. Pops this one into shallow right. Travis goes out, backpedals, makes the catch. 2 down here in the 7th.
You know, the thing about Mark Burley is he works very quickly, and we all know that, but he's very efficient when he is out there. And when he's dialed in like he is tonight, you're going to get short innings. You can see he's only thrown about 14 pitches per inning, which is the fewest pitches per inning in baseball.
Boy, that is quite an impressive list when you look at Burley atop the leaderboard. Scherzer, Colon, Greinke. All of those pitchers are hard throwers. Phil Hughes, they all throw very few pitches, and Billy Burns, well, he loves hitting early in the at-bat. Jumps on that first pitch and singles to left. He's 2 for 4 tonight.
He's got himself a multi-hit game. Everybody on that list gets the ball and throws it and challenges hitters. You've got the power hitters like the Scherzer as that ball gets right under the glove of Donaldson. That's what pitching's all about. Get it? Let's go.
Hitting is hard. Burley understands that. That's why he throws a lot of strikes, challenges the batters to put it in play. Breaking ball fouled off by Stephen Vogt.
Mark has pitched around 8 hits now by the Athletics. You mentioned the base runners. Every inning there's been a base runner. He hasn't walked anybody. He's only given up 1 run.
Yeah, Burley never panics, as you see both Schultz starting to loosen up. He's been a pleasant surprise lately for the Blue Jays, working later innings in the ball game. Popped up into center field. Pilar calling for it immediately, and Burley. Another 7-inning outing for Mark Burley, in line for his 11th win of the season. Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 17 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Russell Martin is going to get a pitch to his liking on the inner half, and he's going to send it into the seats for his 13th home run, his first home run since July the 2nd. He gets all of this one deep to left field off of Kendall Graveman. 3-run blast to really open this one up. Blue Jays take the big lead, 6-0. The drive of the game from Russell Martin.
It's been a tough stretch for Martin offensively coming into this game. He's batting .129 for his last 19 games. But that's the life of a catcher. You get beat up over the course of the summer and get bumps and bruises. You get hit on your hand. You get foul tips on your shoulders. And that's why it's always impressive when you see a catcher like Martin putting up those good offensive numbers.
That's nice production right there. 13 and 44 with an on-base percentage of .333 from your catcher.
Yeah.
And then what they've gotten from Russell this season as a catch and throw and a game caller, everything else, that's production.
Base hit for Russell. Goes the other way. 2 for 4 tonight for Russell Martin. That'll bump his average up over 250.
Now batting, number 3, Ezekiel Cardinals.
John Gibbons comes over to talk to Mark Burley. Little conversation. Doesn't look like he has made a decision to take him out of the game. How you feeling, Mark? Same as always.
That's what I think it is right there. How you feel? I mean, it's a cool night. He
Perfect night
that
pitch.
Yeah,
perfect night.
Hasn't thrown that many pitches.
And we have seen Burley all night long. Looks like he's having a blast pitching tonight. Early in the game, he was getting on Louis Rivera for the infield defense when a ball snuck through for a base hit. This is tapped towards second. Zobrist cuts in front of the base runner Martin and throws out forever. So Martin moves up 90 feet on the ground out. Abad came into the game with 2 outs in the 7th and struck out Justin Smoke. He's the 3rd pitcher to work for Oakland tonight. Blue Jays bullpen is quiet. That's a good indication that Burley's coming back to pitch the 8th.
Yeah, you're starting a road trip like this to the West Coast, and if you can get 8 innings from your starter and only have to cover 1 inning on the first day of this road trip, especially coming off of an off day where some of those guys who've been pitching a lot, they get an extra day.
Tomorrow's pitching matchup, the Blue Jays will send Felix Doubront to the mound against Sonny Gray. Burley and Marco Estrada having a chat. Estrada will not pitch until Saturday in Seattle. And he's coming off a strong performance. Marco 7-5 with a .322, and all of a sudden John Gibbons starters pitched pretty well. Kevin Pillar's had a good night. He's got a couple of hits, he's scored a run, and has 2 stolen bases. When you play every day, you gain confidence. And he tried to check his swing on that off-speed pitch and went around.
That was almost like he said, you know what? I'm swinging. I don't care what pitch it is or where it is. I'm letting it go. A little bit too out in front on that one.
Upstairs, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Protects the plate with that pitch up out of the zone.
Seen teams starting to do this to Kevin when he gets to 2 strikes to elevate that fastball. A couple of them there. You see pitches 4 and 5 in this sequence up.
He got a piece of it. Pillar stays alive. Boy, at this point, Kevin Pillar just looking for that 3rd hit. He's hit throughout his minor league career, 322 average, and now he's trying to carry that success into the big leagues.
It makes it a lot easier your 4th at bat after you've gotten hit your first 2 times up, doesn't it? Get a good swing there. That's where the good ones say, okay, I've got a couple of hits right here. Now I want that 3rd, as Ryan Tepera has picked up the baseball and he's starting to get loose.
Up the middle, Zobra's backhands behind second. Avad thought that was 3 outs. He was headed to the dugout. And his teammates said, wait a minute, we've got another out to go. Martin moves to 3rd on the ground up.
You know, a long inning, I can understand that, but there's only been 3 batters, and there's one of them standing on the base, so there's no way that this could be 3 outs.
Thank you very much. 2 outs. Oops.
Remember that guy over at 3rd base?
Yeah. Russell Martin got a base hit to start the inning. Now Devin Travis will bat with 2 outs. Travis has struck out twice and walked. He's got to have a pretty good idea now that Oakland's going to pitch him away.
That's all he has seen tonight. Everything down and away.
Change up in the dirt. Blue Jays lead at 7-1. Trying to get this road trip off on the right foot. Tomorrow night, Felix Doubront will go up against Sonny Gray, game 2 of this 3-game series. Another changeup, boys. Give him a steady diet of that changeup.
You know, really, the right hand, as you see Evan Scribner now starting to get loose. That's why he has good splits against the righties. He uses that changeup a lot.
He drops that hook on the outside corner. Mark Burley has allowed just 1 run on 8 hits, and the way Tepera is warming up, Burley might be done.
Yeah, the way he is on the bench right now looks like he's taking the game face off.
And Tepera got up, got loose, and now he's just standing by, going pitch for pitch with Avad. Full count, 2 outs. Martin at 3rd base. Ball 4. Travis walks for a 2nd time. That'll bring Reyes to the plate. This is Kurt Young, the pitching coach. He normally doesn't make a pitching change. He's out to have a chat with the left-hander Avad. Avad dominates right-handed hitters, and Reyes hasn't hit well against left-handed pitching. I would be surprised if they make a change.
And he needs to throw more strikes. Walking the number 9 batter with 2 outs. Not a good sign.
Well, we had mentioned how the Athletics have had their own problems in the bullpen. And their starters, boy, they have been great. They're as good as anybody's in baseball. But it's not been the same for the relief corps. They've allowed 31 home runs out of their bullpen, and it's just been a tough stretch for Bob Melvin.
2nd fewest saves in the American League, just 19. They have the 2nd lowest save percentage, and tied for second most blown saves. It just hasn't been a lockdown bullpen for Oakland this year.
Reyes lays off that inside pitch. Oakland's bullpen has allowed 35 home runs. That's 12th most in the American League. 2 outs. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Blue Jays with a big 4-run 6th inning. Broke the game wide open. Then now John Gibbons indeed shakes the hand of Mark Buehrle. That'll be it. Looks like Buehrle knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Gibbons just wanted to wait, make sure Tepera was okay.
You know what has helped is this longer inning now. The walk to Devin Travis, the long at bats against Pilar, that's helped Tepera to get loose. And it probably swayed John Gibbons' thinking a little bit, don't you think?
Well, I think too, if Buehrle had had a quick inning, he probably would have gone right back out there. But it's been a long inning for the Blue Jay hitters. This is a ground ball to Zobrist. That'll end the inning. Blue Jays leave a pair. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's 7-1 Blue Jays. Now time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Kevin Barker. The Blue Jays have signed Jabba Chamberlain, and those are his numbers from this season with the Tigers. The Tigers let him go. He became a free agent. Blue Jays have signed him to a minor league contract.
And go to the minor leagues and probably work on some of those numbers. A 340 batting average and a whip of 1.6. When this guy first came up, I thought he was going to be the heir apparent to Mariano Rivera in that Yankee bullpen, the closer of the future. He had electric stuff, but he just, over the last couple of years, he just hasn't had that type of stuff. He's thrown too many pitches, and we'll see how that shakes out. Ryan Tepera will come into this ball game and hopefully try and finish it off, as he has pitched in 17 games with a 0-1 record, a 289 earned run average for Tepera. 13 strikeouts and just 2 base on balls. He's thrown a lot harder than what we saw in spring training a couple of years ago, since they moved him into the bullpen.
Well, obviously, Aaron Sanchez is headed back to the Blue Jays bullpen soon, and everybody in that pen knows that somebody's got to go. So you can bet that everybody's focused now, come out trying to have good outings. Ben Zobrist has gone 1 for 3. He has scored the only A's run here tonight. Getting back to Jabba Chamberlain, he made his debut with the Yankees in 2007 at 21 years of age. He appeared in 19 games down the stretch, allowed 12 hits in 24 innings, and it looked like that was where he would remain. But then the Yankees, the very next year, decided to try him out as a starter. He made 12 starts in 2008, pitched okay, he went 4-3 with a 2.6 earned run average. And then in 2009, you'll remember the Java rules. They had all kinds of rules about Java. Well, you can only throw this many pitches and face this many batters and all of that nonsense. And
you could throw on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Friday, but nothing. All those crazy rules.
And we've talked about this in the past. When you take a pitcher and flip-flopping back and forth between the bullpen and the rotation, I think you're flirting with danger. It happened to Daniel Bard, who was terrific when he first came up with the Red Sox, a flame-throwing reliever. And they asked him to be a starter, and he's never been the same, and we've never heard of him since. I only mention that because the plan in the Blue Jays' mind is to have Sanchez pitch out of the bullpen. Now you run the risk. Say Dubrant or somebody goes down and you need a starter. You're going to run Sanchez back out there as a starter? That's what's difficult, because you were trying to build up his innings. Tonight was the first time he pitched as a reliever all season long, and he didn't fare well. So now if you were going to say, okay, well, Sanchez is here, he started for us earlier, you have to stick to the plan.
I think so. I think so. But the thinking from the Blue Jays part is, well, our bullpen, we need some help at the back end. He's had the injury. Let's shorten the workload just a little bit.
Billy Butler bounces it to Reyes. He flips to second for one. Double play. Nice turn by Travis. That erases the leadoff walk. How about Mark Burley? He's in line for his 11th win. He goes 7 innings, allows 1 run on 8 hits, didn't walk a batter, and struck out 3. And he has dropped his ERA to 3.23 for the season.
7 straight starts now of at least 7 innings for Mark Burley. And what was that earned run average?
3.23.
Pretty impressive stuff for Burley. He had 8 hits and he was in and out of trouble. He left a runner on base in every one of those innings. And another outstanding performance for Mark.
Mark Burley also set a franchise record tonight by pitching 9 straight games, going 6 or more innings, allowing 2 or fewer earned runs. That's the best such streak in franchise history. And the other names on that list, Dave Stieb had 2 8-game streaks. Roger Clemens had an 8-game and a 7-game streak. Kelvin Escobar had a 7-game streak, and Roy Halladay had a 7-game streak. Mark Burley has bested them all.
Hey, those are some of the pitchers, the greatest pitchers in Blue Jays history that you were naming right there. Halladay and Clemens and Steve.
Bo Schultz, you saw him in the Blue Jays bullpen. He looks like he might work an inning here. Jake Smolinski, he has the only RBI for Oakland. He had an RBI triple into the gap in right center in the 6th. Well, it looks like the A's are going to slip to 6-18 when left-handers start against them. That's the worst mark in baseball. And John Gibbons set up his rotation to make sure Burley and Dubrant started the first 2 games in this series. And Gibbons took a little heat when he announced the rotation for the Tampa Bay series. Everybody questioned how he set it up, but right now he looks like a genius.
That's interesting. The numbers for the Oakland A's, they only have 2 left-handed batters in the lineup. 7 right-handed batters, but they couldn't figure out Mark Burley tonight.
Tepera strikes out Smolinski. Leadoff walk, no damage at all. 3 up, 3 down in the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. It's all Blue Jays tonight in Oakland.
30 plus basic TV bundle for $62.97 per month for the first 3 months. Find out how. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 now. Bye.
Thank you very much, Barry. We are in Oakland, California, OAK Coliseum. Having Scribner into the ball game. Takes over for Fernando Abad.
There's Scribner's number over 41 games this season. How about 4 walks all year long in 45 1/3 innings for Scribner to go along with 50 strikeouts? He was the Diamondbacks' 28th round draft pick back in 2007. His fastball's only 88 to 92, but he gets lots of tailing action, throws across his body, and throws the ball in the strike zone.
Josh Donaldson had an RBI double his last time up. Donaldson with 63 ribbies. Bautista with a solo home run tonight has 64. At the start of play tonight, Kansas City's Kendrys Morales was the leader. He did not get an RBI tonight in the Kansas City win.
That seems to be the most popular seat in the dugout. You see Deandre Navarro sitting, it looked like a helmet bag.
Looks like a beanbag chair, doesn't it?
Looks like the most comfortable, too. Enjoying the ball game.
Hey, you're out on the West Coast. You got to kick back, enjoy yourself. Donaldson fouls it back. Poke down the right side. That's going to drop for a base hit. Donaldson makes the turn. He's going to challenge Reddick's arm. And he slides in safely with a leadoff double. His second double of the night. That gives him 24 for the season.
You know what you love about this guy, Josh Donaldson, is he doesn't give away any at-bats. It's 9th inning. The Blue Jays are up 7-1, and he's still grinding. This ball down and away. He goes down and gets it. Slices it down the right field line and then hustles his way into scoring position with a double. 24 of them this season now.
That moves him up into the 5th spot in the American League in doubles. Gets himself into scoring position for Jose Bautista. And that's what you do as a good teammate. You hustle on that play. You mentioned the score, and Donaldson didn't care what the score is. He's in position for Bautista now for an opportunity to drive in a run.
You know, that's a great point. I've played on teams where guys, you know, as soon as they hit the ball like that, they say, all right, I got my second hit of the night, I'm good. And they just jog down the first base. It's 7-1. It's the 9th inning. Not Josh Donaldson. He hustles and gets himself into scoring position for the guy behind him. That's good teammate.
So then Bautista gets a base hit. He scores a run. Jose will be thinking about getting in position for Encarnacion.
And everybody's happy.
Line drive. Donaldson does a good job to hustle back. Bautista lines out to the shortstop.
Ball on the inner half, and he reads it. And he's not going to get doubled off. So he stays in scoring position for Edwin Encarnacion. And believe me, players notice that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. You get yourself into scoring position, and you know, now all of a sudden the at bat is much more significant. The hitter is much more focused. Got a chance to drive in a run.
Had a chance to drive in a run.
Edwin had a home run in his first at bat. It was his 19th home run of the season. He has grounded out and walked twice. He's officially 1 for 2. Bautista explaining what he saw from Scribner, and that cutter is a new pitch that Scribner has added to the mix. giving that information to Russell Martin. High pop left side of the infield. Simeon, the shortstop, makes the catch.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
We are in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're on the East Bay in Oakland. Blue Jays playing 3 games here against the Athletics. Justin Smoke walked and scored in the 6th. He's officially 0 for 3 tonight. Josh Donaldson with the leadoff double, still at second. Steve Delabar loosening up. Looks like he is going to come in to work the ninth. We have talked about Oakland and how well they have played since the latter part of May. How about the Angels and what they have done? They are beating Minnesota tonight 7-0 in Anaheim. And they have come on like gangbusters. Smoke strikes out for a second time tonight. Scribner with a clean inning. Gives up the leadoff double and nothing more. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. Blue Jays with a 7-1 lead. Delabar into the game. Steve Delabar into the ball game. This is his 26th appearance. Ryan Tepera had a 1-2-3 inning. It's the first 1-2-3 inning for the Blue Jays pitchers tonight.
Delabar trying to do that for the second time. There are his numbers, Steve's numbers in 25 games, a 2-0 record, a 375 earned run average. He's averaging 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Delabar last worked on the 12th at Kansas City.
Brett Laurie, Delabar's former teammate, has had a good night. All up and in. Laurie bends back. Laurie has a pair of singles. He's also popped out.
They want that ball down and away, and it's up and in all the way back to the backstop. You know, you were saying last inning about everybody knows that Aaron Sanchez has been moved to the bullpen, and he will probably be an 8th inning guy.
So somebody has to go.
Somebody has to go, and I think the Blue Jays are trying to decide if that's who Sanchez is going to be the guy who leaves that spot, who leaves that 8th inning spot.
Well, now for a preview of what's coming up next on Sportsnet Central. Here's Jamie Thomas and Carly Agro.
Now batting the catcher, number 19, Josh Begley.
Well, Jamie, he means that somebody's going to get a good pitcher. And it might cost him a lot. Everybody, I'm sure, calling Dave Dombrowski in Detroit saying, okay, we want to be included in the discussion. And Dombrowski, you can bet he's got all of his scouts all over baseball down in the minor leagues looking for some prize prospect or three.
And, you know, it cost them Austin Jackson, Drew Smiley. Here's a strike. So there was one other player in that. I have to think of it here for a second. It cost him 3 players. That's where the starting point is, I think, for David Price.
Yeah, and 3 good players. It's not just going to be some pedestrian AA prospect. It's going to be a top ranked prospect.
They gave away major league talent in Austin Jackson, major league talent in Drew Smiley.
Josh Begley hits a high pop into foul territory. Donaldson gets there and makes the catch. He's done that a lot here in this ballpark. So the A's are down to their final out.
I think they sent a minor league shortstop buck to Tampa Bay as part of that David Price trade. So 3 players. You start with 3 players if you're going to try and pick up David Price. He is that valuable, and he's that good.
Yeah, and you bet there's going to be a lot of teams involved. How about Kansas City? Kansas City's loaded with minor league talent. Got a youngster named Bubba Starling that's starting to draw up praise as a prospect.
Raul Mondesi, his son, he's a shortstop. He's 19 years old. Heard his name out there.
Yeah, those are the types of players that you can bet the Tigers are looking for. 2 or 3 position players, everyday players that might be a year, year and a half away from the major leagues. Delabar with an 0-2 count to Josh Reddick. Reddick checks his swing and fouls it off. Good start for the Blue Jays on this road trip. They have a 7-1 lead with 2 outs in the 9th. Tomorrow night, left-hander Felix Doubront will go up against Sonny Gray. Gray is 10-4 with a .229 earned run average. Reddick fouls it back. This is all about one game at a time if you're the Blue Jays.
Yeah, you're going to be facing, I think, the best that the Oakland A's have to offer tomorrow night in Sonny Gray. So winning this one is huge to get the road trip off on the right foot.
John Gibbons has seen Sonny Gray just twice. He has made 2 starts against the Blue Jays. He's got a total of 13 innings, allowed 8 hits. There's 3 earned runs. One and 2 to Josh Reddick. Blue Jays have out hit Oakland 10-8. Ground ball. This should do it. Travis from the outfield. That's the ball game. The Blue Jays win game 1 of this series in Oakland, and they do it in grand style. 3 home runs, 1 for Russell